How's it going, guys? Welcome to today's video. As you can see, we're already into the big pit, but in today's video we're going to be talking about, as you guessed from the thumbnail and the title of this video, our new 4Cx. Some of you now had a keen eye. You noticed in some of my last videos when you just saw the back of the JCB that it said 4Cx on the back actor, even though it was off in the background. Yes, we had got this in March, so it's here a good few months now. It's the first time getting time to do a video on it. Why did we decide to change up to a 4Cx? What's the difference between a 3Cx and a 4Cx, and what different spec is on the new machine versus our old machine? Some of the things I'm going to cover in this video. So first up, why did we decide to change? The main reason being this Tig shear grab we have on the front here. So last year we decided to change up to this from our Tanko shear grab, our multi-shear that we can be used on pit and bales. We decided that we wanted to get a bigger grab and we would keep the multi-shear just for bales. So we went for our big Tig grab. There is a video on this grab showing it. It went on the front of the 3Cx. But we knew it was going to be a bit big and heavy for 3Cx. She could handle it no bother, but it was a lot of weight on the tires, especially moving around. When you have a full grab, there's over 2 ton of weight in the front of it, so it's a lot of pressure on the small tires. So when we were going to get this grab, we decided that we would switch to a 4Cx. Now our last 3Cx obviously was very new. It was only 2019 when we had got it, but we had also had some trouble with a sensor on it, or an alarm that our dealer couldn't really figure out what was the problem. So that was also encouraging us to change it or either go and get that fixed. With our feeding silage from our silage pit out to our cows in the winter, this is probably the biggest job for JCB in the year, and the way we do it is very efficient. You know, we can feed, there's 414 cows here, and we can feed them in under an hour a day. It was probably taking a little bit longer with the other grab, but with the new grab holding a bit more capacity, it's taking less grabs to feed out. So that was kind of the only way we could really improve upon it. With the new machine, what is the difference between a 3Cx and a 4Cx? So they're both the JCB backhoe loaders, but the 4Cx is the next step up. First of all, first thing you notice is the big wheels on front. Wheels front and back are the exact same size. Now they are a little bit narrower than the rear wheels of a 3Cx. On our last 3Cx we had 480s on the back. These are 440s. One thing that always held me back from getting a 4Cx before is the fact that it's a bigger machine. I thought it might be a little bit harder to maneuver into some of our smaller, tighter sheds. But actually, because a 4Cx is 4-wheel steer, it is actually more maneuverable than a 3Cx, which is only 2-wheel steer. The 3Cx has, of course, your one steering option, small wheels in the front that are steering the machine. With a 4Cx you have 3 different steering options. As you can see here, we can switch between our 3 steering options, which is 4-wheel steer, 2-wheel steer and crab crawl. 4-wheel steer is what you're going to use for your everyday maneuvering. It's very maneuverable. It does slightly steer more in the rear than in the front. They don't exactly steer the exact same. They don't directly follow each other's footprints, which is important when you get into the crab crawl. But the second steering option then is front wheel steer, and this is pretty much for roading. There's not a huge amount of movement in the front axle, so 2-wheel steer on its own around the yard is very, very poor, but it's mainly for on the road, because if you're going down the road at 40 kilometers an hour or whatever, if you have 4-wheel steer on, it's very jumpy and can be quite dangerous, especially with something like the back actor. You have that extra height, there's lots of weight up high, so you want the 2-wheel steer to let it be a bit more comfortable and more controllable on the road at high speeds. Your third steering option then, of course, is your crab crawl. This is where all wheels turn the same direction. It's very useful for getting yourself out of sticky situations. If you're kind of caught in a tight spot or against a wall, you can simply move yourself out by switching your steering option. It's very useful that we can clear away with the bucket with the crab crawl and keep the rest of the machine away from the feed barrier, because as you can see on these feed barriers, the rail is out a little bit further than the wall, so we want to get the bucket in, but we want to keep the machine away from the rail. Now, over the course of the length of the feed barrier, because the rear wheel steer a little bit more, it won't actually hold its position for a long period of time. It will start to spin a little bit, but that means you just have to readjust up the way, or if you get it set up right at the start, you mightn't have to readjust. The next biggest thing is this is a bigger machine. The front loaders is bigger, longer than for your wheels, obviously jut out a bit further. The rams, and I presume the hydraulic pump, are all bigger. Really noticeable on the likes of our Tanko shear grab how much faster it operates. Very noticeable on a lot of the back actor and everything. The rams physically much bigger, giving it greater power and lifting capacity. It also has a bigger engine. I'm not going to go into the detail of it because I can't really remember what the size of the engine is and what the engine was at 3CX and that. You would think they're similar enough to look at, apart from the big wheels and it being slightly bigger rams than that, but they are completely different machines. In my experience, this is an absolute beast compared to the 3CX. Some of the stuff I've tested this with, putting under pressure, pushing big piles of dung, has been no trouble to it whatsoever. This is the 4CX Pro as well. I know there's a 4CX Plus. I don't think there's any other options. In Ireland, with the dealer we were dealing with, they only do the 4CX Pro. I don't really know what the features of the Plus are. The Pro is kind of the higher spec one, I think. The machine is handling the grab very, very well when it comes to feeding out silage. Very quick, very powerful, and has made the job much faster. Obviously this is a slightly newer machine, so the inside of the cab is slightly different. I was amazed that I was in a 2004 Jcb 4Cx, which was very similar to our 2019 on the interior. But when we get into the cab, you'll notice there's a little bit different upgrade, but also the spec we went for on this machine is completely different. On the outsides, you will notice that the back actor is hammer piped, so we got this. That wasn't on our last machine. But the main differences come on the inside. So first thing coming into the machine, you're going to see straight away is we have a whole different type of control system here. We have went for the servo controls. Now you can still get the standard controls like we had in our last machine on a 4CX, and you can get the servo controls on 3CX. Basically the two joysticks are mounted on the seat. The right joystick here is used to control the front loader when you're face forwards, and when you spin around, our lock for our seat is on your foot here. The last one was on your handle that you'd flick with your hand. And when you spin around, now you have your two joysticks for operating your back actor, more like a backhoe. There is the option for anybody who's drove both machines, you will know that a 3CX controls and a backhoe, a digger ISO controls are different. So here on the Jcb you have the option to switch between which controls you want. We have it on digger controls, so that makes it a little bit different, but also your backhoe loader controls and your digger controls are different. Some rams are switched from hand to hand. The digger ones are much nicer to use. You will have seen in that little mini digger we had out, I kind of got used to the digger controls with that before this arrived. Even Dad who hadn't drove a digger before, he switched to using digger controls with this because they are much nicer to get used to. The jacks here are just on the switch here. So these also have auto jacks, so I can just flick it and I can flick them down and they go down and they'll level off themselves, and I can also flick them back and they'll just carry up themselves. I don't have to hold them down. There's a switch here then that gives you the option between where your controls are. So when it's click forward, it means you're controlling what's in front of you, and when you can knock it off so it won't do any controls, and you can also click back, which allows you to control what's behind you. So if I was driving into a shed and I wanted to drop the back actor down a little bit, rather than having to stop and swing around in my seat, I can simply flick the switch and I can control the back actor. Now just because this switch is flicked doesn't mean you actually have controls. Your controls won't go live until you click the button on the back here, which will cause the green lights to come on, and that means you're live, which is very, very handy. It automatically kicks out when you turn out your seat, they go off. So if I have my steering wheel down and I turn, it hit, just because I hit off that steering wheel. By the time I've turned that much in the seat, it would deactivate the control, so that's not going to have any effect. Looking around at the rest of the cab then, we got a dashboard up here behind the steering wheel, which wasn't on our old machine. It's got a speedometer, shows me what gear I am in, and like what steering mode and that, which is much nicer. There are more gears on this, so on our last machine there was 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 1, 2, 3 in auto, and there's actually 4, 5 and 6 it goes up to. It doesn't actually go any faster. It has torque like the last machine, but where the difference really comes in is 1 is like 1 and 2 is probably similar to 2, but in this one 3 is more of an, isn't like 3 in the last machine. It's more of an in between 2 and 3, not quite as fast. And then when I flick into auto, I'll go up to 4, which is similar to your 3. But then you have 5 and 6, which will automatically switch up to when needed. 6 is like your 4th gear, with 5 being between your third and 4th gear. So you're just getting that little bit of extra gears in between to always make sure you're in the right one, which is much nicer. You got your auto throttle that you can hold your speed, and they were all on the last one as well. This does have AC. My last machine didn't have AC, which really you want in every machine nowadays, because if you're working on a summer's day, you're gonna want that to make it a comfortable place to be. Then of course this display is all new. We have our screen here. We're going to turn this on here, and you'll get a Bluetooth radio up here, which is like a Jcb radio. It can also be controlled from down here. So then we have a digital display here where we have our RPM, we have our AdBlue level, our temperature gauge, our fuel, and we have a clock, and it tells you how many hours until you need to refuel. Your media, your hours up there, the date, everything's there. This also has auto idle, so once I have the handbrake on, you can see this A has come up there. I think after about 3 minutes, I think I can change what setting I want. The machine will automatically turn off. So if I get out to open a gate and then I get delayed, rather than the machine left there for 5-10 minutes running away, burning diesel for no reason, it'll automatically shut off after the period of time that I've set it to. Everything else is pretty much the same. Obviously we got some controls for our hammer pipe. As I said, this is hammer piped on the back actor. Our SRS is a smooth right system. Front loader is automatic as well. Most of the other features are pretty much the same. I suppose looking at the back actor, then we have auto idle. So when we're using our when we're revved up, using our back actor. So I clicked that button there. That's brought me live. So if I move this, you can see my RPM go up to what I have it set at here. But if I let go for a few seconds, it should go back to idle. There we go. So not to be burning extra fuel, and when I grab the controls again, it revs back up. We had that feature on our last machine as well. What this also has, it has a hydraulic slide so that we can move this quite easily. Before you just unclamped it and you like pushed it across with the back actor, but now we can move it hydraulically, which makes it a bit easier and is a nice feature. I do use it a lot because it's 4-wheel steer. The back tends to swing out more, so if you're going into a tight shed, it's nice to, you know, maybe have the back actor this way if we're going against the wall at this side, rather than that swinging out and catching it, or vice versa. Oh yeah, there's also an auto latch. This is quite cool. So activate my controls as I swing around. But there is a latch that holds up the back actor. There's auto latch, so when I spin out my seat, it automatically closes and locks in. That's quite cool as well. Most of the other features are pretty much the same. Bigger machine, 4-wheel steer, auto idle, more gears, and obviously the new displays, AC. They're some of the main things that are different on the machine from what I can think of at the moment anyway. I'm really loving this machine. It is kind of a dream purchase. Someone said to me on my Instagram, Owen Corrigan from Corrigan Farms, if you're on Instagram, make sure you follow them guys, they're a very good account. by Owen and Roisin there, but Owen messaged me to say, as a fellow 3CX owner, this was a dream purchase, and it really is.